Hi, this is Elizabeth, one of the co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Rachel Mullins, host of #NoFilterFriday here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my new show, #NoFilterFriday, where we talk about all of the sexual misconduct allegations swirling around Hollywood. A new show drops every Friday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of #NoFilterFriday. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
In 2014, Germany shocked the world by putting together one of the most talented and most dominant rosters in soccer history.
Götze! It's Mario Götze!
Argentina, they were so close, yet couldn't put it together when it most mattered. Now you've got an Argentina team that's hungry for revenge.
Messi! And Yeva couldn't stop it!
But what about England?
Pass to Rooney. Sturridge in the middle, there he is, goal!
Or France?
And Sissoko! They're running riot!
Or Spain?
It's broken for Fabregas, now it's Iniesta! This is it! That's the goal!
All 32 teams in this tournament are vying for the opportunity to hoist the World Cup trophy.
Still Gervinho! Oh, he's done it!
If you want to be a part of the action at Russia 2018, you're going to need your soccer passport, the World Cup edition. At Public House Media, we are excited to launch a new soccer podcast called Your Soccer Passport World Cup Edition. Come alongside hosts and fans and guests from around the world as we bring you all the action from the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Because who knows, anything can happen in the FIFA World Cup.
What about that? It's John Brooks!
So come on, grab your soccer passport and join us for all the action from Russia 2018.
A sensational volley!
Hello and welcome to Your Soccer Passport presented by Public House Media. I'm Brice Burge, and with me today is Louise Burranca. How are you doing today?
How you doing, Brice? And hi everyone that's listening to us. Once again, here the both of us, like all the team together during this World Cup. And enjoying it right now because we enjoyed so much that it happened to going out very fast right now. We ended up the group phase so quickly, and now we're heading into the knockout stage.
Yeah, there's a lot of great games, a lot of high energy games, a lot of just great matchups all around. And now that we're at the 16 teams in the knockout stages, it's great stuff to talk about here on Your Soccer Passport, presented by Public House Media. You can find them online at thephmedia.com, or you could find them on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe and leave a review for us as we continue on with the show. So 16 teams made the knockout stages with the basic format of placing either first or second in their groups. Out of all the 16 teams that did make it out of the rounds, let's start off with the most surprising one. What team shocked you by making it to the knockout?
Well, actually, it shocked me ever since their first match. Talking about the host Russia, and they did a very great campaign. Well, actually, they didn't have the rivals on their best level. Egypt wasn't with Mohamed Salah, and Saudi Arabia, as we talked in the programs before we had this one. I always said that Saudi Arabia was almost a semi-amateur team, and that's the reason why Russia made a hell of a respect out of themselves. They had a great star like Denis Cheryshev that fortunately he got a brain refresh, and he remembered that he was formed in the Real Madrid school. So they woke up this great star in Cheryshev, and Also, I saw some few other surprises like this guy, Artem Suba. Igor Akinfeev, well, counting out the match against Uruguay, was having a great time also by himself because Igor Akinfeev, as we know we know him, he's a guy that that in many matches he turns out to be one of the greatest in every single game, the man of the match. However, I'm talking about in club levels. However, in this type of matches, like in the World Cup, that it's the 3-time that's 3 times more tougher than a regular club match. I saw Akinfeev very secure, counting out the match against Uruguay, obviously, because he turned out to getting 3 goals, getting out 3 goals in his goal line. So except that match against that juggernaut that we call Uruguay, I saw Russia planning out very well planned out, and surprising more than just one fan, because everyone was rooting for Egypt because of Mo Salah and his great hype that he had this last year, and that's a great teamwork, and every well teamwork has a mastermind, and I'm talking about this guy, the head coach Stanislav Cherchesov. Some people call him the Vicente del Bosque of Russia, the Russian Vicente del Bosque, and I sometimes I agree, because he had the same ideology of that tiki-taka game.
Yeah, I mean, with what Russia was able to do this entire time has just been really dumbfounding to me, just because I didn't expect them to be able to score so many goals. And with having Saudi Arabia and Egypt there, you really kind of expected it to be more of a grind out, but Russia surprised. They played inspired, and that was something that I thought was really interesting as they moved on. Because we weren't really sure in that Group A preview earlier on Your Soccer Passport. We didn't really think that Russia could make it out as long as Salah could be there healthy and wanting to be there for Egypt, which became a kind of a storyline in itself as this World Cup has come along. But Russia really stepped up, and it's hard to take anything away from them. My pick for one of the more surprising teams to be there was Japan. And Japan had to rely on yellow card tiebreakers to make it past Senegal to get into the round of 16. And that is just a huge surprise to me in regards to what that Japanese team really brings to the table. Because even though they lost 1-0 to Poland, that just seemed a complete disarray. They didn't seem to have any kind of plans or goals to work toward out on the pitch. They were just kind of there, and it seemed so disorganized that I can't imagine them having any success moving forward, because they were just so disjointed out on the pitch.
You know, today many people called me that I was some sort of a hypocrite, because the way Japan get their qualifying their knockout qualify was very similar the way Peru and Colombia got their passports to Russia, playing very softly, knowing that you have time for everything, and knowing that you're even losing the match, Colombia is beating out Senegal, and you know that you have less yellow cards than your opponent. So that very very microscopical defect put Japan obviously in the knockout stage. I didn't like it. Obviously, I said in many shows that I didn't like it, and that's the reason why many people call me a hypocrite because I supported the way how Peru and Colombia got their World Cup qualification. So the fact is I didn't like it because Japan didn't had a direct rival that everyone was trying to putting out of their misery. Here in South America, we all wanted Chile out, but in this case, in the World Cup, everyone was talking more about how Senegal got out, fighting, putting everything they have on the line, and Japan just making out the simple way. Well, actually, I'm being very hypocrite right now already because of what I said before. However, it's obviously the way soccer demands it. That if you're going to be eliminated, well, it's what it. Those are my beliefs. If you get eliminated, get out, but fighting, standing tall, not to qualify the simple way. I don't know if you're trying to get me right now.
No, I understand what you're getting at. I mean, that was the thing too, is that it wasn't really sure which African nation was going to have the best chance of moving on, whether it be Nigeria or Senegal, and I thought it would be Senegal. And based on their performance, Senegal, I think, really kind of got heartbroken with the way that Colombia scored so late in that match. Was a huge factor in it was the deciding factor. But to have Japan limp in that way with knocking out an entire continent, then. Because there's no African nation in the round of 16. There's a little bit more of a slight then, because there's a whole region that doesn't have an opportunity, but you have multiple countries in Europe and multiple South American countries, and there's only one from CONCACAF that moved along too, in Mexico, which kind of gets a little bit to some of the other surprises of teams that we thought would make it out of the group stage, but did not. I was kind of surprised that Senegal went down the way that they did, but I think there's one elephant in the room that we all kind of have to talk about not making the round of, the knockout round of 16, and that's Germany. And Germany hasn't missed a World Cup knockout round since pre-World War II. So that gap is just such a large amount of time. So, and it didn't turn out too well for the rest of us when Germany misses the knockout stages. So, but tell me a little bit about why Germany didn't make it to the round of 16.
Well, putting aside that WW2 fact, I don't know if you read this German journal called Bild, that's a sports journal, a very popular sports journal. 4 years ago, they put in the next day they beat the hell out of Brazil, that 7-1 score. The main top line was out of words. You know what they put today in that very same journal, in the main line? Out of words, but in the other way. This was a premonition of what I was talking a few days ago. I didn't believe Germany was about to win in the World Cup for many reasons. One of them was relying on Manuel Neuer, that wasn't on his best shape, and coming out from an injury. in the time when a guy like Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, who's a younger guy and having a hell of a time in Barcelona and being the top guy right now in Germany, was getting down into the bench. For me, that was strike one. Strike two was the fact of putting out Leroy Sané, this guy who was having this amazing year in Manchester City, becoming champion with Manchester City, being a big reveal with Germany, very young talent because he's just only 21 years old, and having this bright future in front of him were all the pieces to the puzzle that might put Sané into the World Cup. However, Joachim Löw, the head coach of Germany, put more personal things on it rather than the professional ones, because every single German guy might know that Leroy Sané right now is on a better shape than Marco Reus. That's in my opinion. That's obviously my opinion, and obviously the opinion of millions. You can't compare a guy that's not having the 100% of his shape next to a guy that it's on his top and at the top of the game in the Premier League, that in my opinion is the most competitive league in the world. For me, that was strike two, and strike three was I don't know if you guys might understand me because of what I'm saying, but 1 year ago, Germany persisted in that that not B team, but the C team in the FIFA Confederations Cup, also in Russia. Everyone was criticizing Germany because of I don't know what are they doing? Why don't you guys go with your starring team? Where's Toni Kroos? Where's Sami Khedira? Where's Marco Reus? Where's Mesut Özil? And for me, that was a very mischievous sin for Germany. They believe that they had a new golden generation that was on the top of the game already. Still, they have great players. I'm not denying that they are on the top of the game. However, they got very overconfident about themselves. Even a top guy like Toni Kroos, I would like to say that even a guy like Toni Kroos, who for me is the biggest star in the German team, was overconfident of himself. Not of himself, but of the team. And eating that tail of the Confederations Cup, that they will break the spell of the team that does win the Confederations Cup and that doesn't win the World Cup, was very I don't know, rare, strange, and a little bit of bizarre. And Germany was so overconfident of themselves as a team, not individually, but as a team. I also would like to say that in some other shows, I said that Germany starts to build generations that become world champions every single 25 years. All right.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, already. No, don't worry. That's what my explanation.
Okay, well, I mean, I look at it, and you brought up a bunch of good points there. I mean, Toni Kroos has even said flat out that if they can't score a goal in 90 minutes against South Korea, then they don't deserve to go through. We got what we deserved. We were not unlucky. It is not down to bad luck, unquote. This was something for me watching the Bundesliga and some of the German nationals that have been playing out in other leagues, the English Premier League, obviously, or in Italy, or even the MLS at some point, when you look at some of the guys that don't make the national team but are still good enough to play internationally. This was a situation where everybody just for German soccer and German football is down. There's not a lot of hope for German football right now because things seem to be on, in a valley. They're not in a peak right now. And trying to figure out how to overcome some of the stupid mistakes like the one against Sweden that resulted in that goal. There's just a lot of negativity about how to change some things around. And I'm just not sure that Lowe can survive this. If he's still the manager of that team, before the World Cup is actually hoisted up, then Germany's got a lot more problems than we realize, and that's going to be an interesting story to pay attention to throughout the rest of the World Cup and the international scene for months to come. Just a quick follow up though, before we move on to another subject.
Yep. All right.
What besides Germany, is there another team that you are just really surprised by that did not make it?
Well, another team that I'm surprised that they didn't make it. Well, there's Poland. That was one of my biggest deceptions, the biggest letdowns in my case. They had a great killer like Robert Lewandowski, and we saw in every single match except this last one against Japan that the Polish national team players don't get along very well through themselves. I saw a guy that almost didn't know each other. That was a new team. Another team that won from the 2016 Euro tournament.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean Poland's there. I really wasn't sure what to think about that because I mean Germany was just such a league of their own in terms of not making the knockout rounds that it kind of put everything else in comparison. Because we talked a little bit about Senegal, and Egypt was one of those like borderline teams too, but there wasn't like any real big shockers, especially after Argentina pulled out a win when they needed one. Because that first loss to Croatia was a real big surprise, but Argentina was able to survive and get into it. So with the bracket being set up the way that it is, what game are you most looking forward to out of all the games so far? Because there's a couple of really, really enticing matchups here.
Well, you might want to call the psychiatric doctors because of what am I going to say. I'm looking forward more than in this knockout stage. I'm looking forward to the quarterfinals. I want Germany and Portugal to win. You know why, right? In quarterfinals, we would have this big, fat, great, spectacular match. And for me, that's a great showdown and the season final of the 10-year series of Lionel Messi against Cristiano Ronaldo. For me, in my opinion, that could be the season, the series final.
So you would need Portugal to beat Uruguay and Argentina to beat France.
Yeah, more than the other matches like Colombia and England or Belgium against Japan. I'm looking forward to those first two. That's gonna be a great Saturday for me. A great Saturday, yeah. And if they make it, because you want to know why. We saw many matches between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo with Real Madrid and Barcelona. They both have great teams. They both have very great players that can assist them. They both are champions, multiple-time champions with their teams. However, in their national teams, they relied so much on them, unlike in their clubs. They relied so much on them that this is the greatest place and the greatest hour to see this great confrontation for the final time, to see who's the best, who got far than the other. I don't know. I don't think that Messi or Cristiano can make it to the final or even win the World Cup. However, we will have this great episode that it could be a season final of the 10-year rivalry between those two, and it causes me a little bit of chills. I don't know if you're trying to get me, but those two are the greatest matches I'm looking forward to.
You know, it's interesting because on the flop side of that, you've got Portugal and Argentina that you've explained so well, but Uruguay has kind of always been that team that's just limped into the tournament and then kind of made something happen once they've gotten there. But France has been a team that has been knocked out of, like, this is their first time back in the knockout rounds in a decade. It's just amazing how bad France has been at the World Cup since they won it back in the early 2000s. And so to get to that dream matchup that you're talking about, you're going to have to go through two teams that I think are going to be really, really fighting hard. And I'm not sure if Portugal has the defense to keep up with Uruguay's top attack. And I'm not sure if Argentina has the overall midfield to keep up with France, if France is able to stay on the ball. But you know, as we've talked about in other shows, France is kind of all over the place and has the distinct ability to fall disastrously apart at any second. So, I mean, it really depends on what kind of French team you're going to get out there, because they could win the World Cup, they could get laughed off with a 7-2 drubbing by Argentina. So there's a possibility there of a bunch of different stuff. For me, I know that one of the more intriguing games will be Brazil versus Mexico.
Yeah.
Because Mexico needed a little bit of help from Korea to get in. They're that team that's not Germany. And I'm interested to see what Mexico can do, if anything, against Brazil. Kind of bringing in a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, a little bit about that bad boy Mexican attitude that they've shown with their fans and all that other stuff, and dealing with the CONCACAF qualifying, and see if they can throw a monkey wrench into Brazil's plans, or if Brazil will be able to just steamroll them. To me, this is the match that will tell us exactly how good Brazil is for this World Cup, and it makes it very interesting to see who's going to do well further on.
Well, you want to know something? In that match, Mexico against Brazil, I forgot to say it, but the winner of that match will become my main candidate. I was rooting for Brazil in the pre-World Cup time. However, this Mexico, the way they got support by their fans, the way they beat Germany, they surprisingly beat Germany, and they got their payback of the Confederations Cup. They convinced me that they can make it far than they did it last time. And besides, Mexico can do it against Brazil. Let's remember that final for the golden medal in the 2012 Olympics in London. So I believe this Mexico, if they recover that mysticism, because I'm a very mysticism guy, that shut Brazil's mouth and all the critics. Mexico can surprise the world, can become the World Cup surprise if they beat Brazil. However, if Brazil beats Mexico, the way I'm thinking of, Brazil will get once again that main candidate rating. So I still believe that in this match we could see the main candidate for the title.
Those are some big words there. It's it's great to see such faith in those programs as well. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Mexico's chances, but if they do knock out Brazil, then
Brice,
it's a crazy opportunity to think for it. But it'd be great for Mexico.
Brice, I don't know if it's subtitled. But there's an amazing, a badass, amazing interview with Chicharito Hernandez that once he said, why can the main journalist that was interviewing him was telling him, you guys can't win the World Cup because you don't have the team already. And Chicharito answered, why don't we start to think badass things? He exploded in front of the journalist, and he spit everything, and he popularized that word that says imaginémonos cosas chingonas. That means let's imagine effed up things, and that was the slogan for the Mexican fans. I see that this time they are believing themselves in, as you said. I'm a very faithful guy, but I can see that there's something different in this Mexico. It's not the same Mexico that was coming only to defend their scores and survive. This is not a Mexico that's trying to survive. For the first time, I'm seeing a Mexican team that's trying to win, and win big time.
Well, we'll see if they can do that. I think, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I think it's going to be such an intriguing game. Just that paired up with what Brazil has been able to do with all their preparation and all the different looks that they have. There's just a million possibilities that can come out, but Mexico has the determination to figure out which one of the million possibilities is going to result in their win. And it should be more compelling than some of the other ones throughout the first stage of the knockout rounds. So in the interest of time and making sure that we've got some other fodder for our fellow Your Soccer Passport hosts, let's just kind of do a rapid fire of who you think is going to win each game in the knockout round, the first knockout round. We'll start off with Uruguay and Portugal. Who do you think is going to win?
Well, as I said, I want Portugal to win it. However, if we are talking about build very well build up team, I might say Uruguay.
I am also going to go with Uruguay. How do you feel about France and Argentina?
You want to know something? The real World Cup starts right now for Argentina. So Argentina is going to make it well this time.
Brazil versus Mexico.
Brazil versus Mexico. Well, the laws of Earth are saying Brazil.
All right. One that we didn't talk about, Belgium versus Japan.
Belgium versus Japan. Well, Belgium is a juggernaut. Belgium.
Yeah, Belgium is. I think there's a lot of people in North America that consistently disrespect Belgium and how good they are. They're going to win that one pretty soundly. Spain versus Russia.
Spain. However, if Russia wins this one, Russia is definitely the surprise of the World Cup. But my bets are on Spain.
I think if Russia can force extra time, then this will be a great World Cup for them, regardless of whether they lose or win that game, as long as they can force extra time against Spain. But I think Spain is just too deep for them. So I'm going to go
Definitely.
with Spain as well. Croatia versus Denmark.
Well, I'm gonna root for Croatia. For me, they are one of the 5 teams that had the most amazing playing style during this World Cup. So I'm gonna go for Croatia.
I'm also going to go with Croatia. They've just been a ton of fun to watch.
And I said it in some few early programs before. Croatia was going to make it out on the first place, not Argentina.
Good for you. I missed that one. I didn't do that group. But it sounds like your picks did better than mine, because I fell flat on my face with some of my picks. So I'm hoping that with the knockout round I'll be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Sweden versus Switzerland. This one was the other one that I was thinking about in terms of most intriguing, just because Sweden has really put together a solid play, and Switzerland has just grinded it out. And I'm not really sure what to expect from this matchup, just because it has the potential to be either a really gritty game or a really boring game. And there's not a lot of in between, and depending on which one it is depends on who I think is going to win. And so tell me, what do you think about Sweden and Switzerland?
Well, I'm gonna go obviously for Sweden, because Switzerland, this Swiss team was very how can I say it, tasteless. It didn't. I didn't like it too much this time, because, as you said, they crawled more than they played. They survived more than they wanted to win it. It was a very not likable team that you want to see on a World Cup level. And besides, putting aside the physical level of this guy Blairin Semaili, the Swiss team does not bring you anything. It's not a very, although they are very connected with each other, a very united and close team. I don't see that their game might like everyone. And besides, Sweden got when this Sweden surprised the world already, qualifying in the first place. So let's put it on the check and betting for Sweden.
You know, my thing is that it's a lot easier to keep momentum going in a positive way when you are a more positive team. And I think that's going to mean a lot for Sweden, as they get the ball control in their favor and they get the game going in the way that they wanted to, and they'll pull out the win. Last matchup, Colombia versus England. Who do you got?
Hard decision. Well, first, I have Colombian family, and I have also but I'm watching this British team, very surprising. I thought a very surprising British team. However, the guys on the bench does not surprise. They're not surprising me too much. They showed me today in the match against Belgium. But the main lineup guys, like Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Raheem Sterling, or Jordan Henderson, those are the main guys. that's a hard decision, but I'm gonna root for Colombia. Colombia has a big vendetta for not just for the 2014 season, but for the return of Radamel Falcao. He's getting so much opportunities, and he deserves one more match.
I'm going to go with Colombia as well, just because I've looked at England play, and it's not to the level of the expectations. Now that Germany's out, England's the team, in my opinion, that is going to attitude themselves out of the World Cup. And there's a possibility for them to rectify that and win big against Colombia, but I just don't see it happening because it's an opening round matchup. It may have been different if they won their group, but they didn't. And the difference is that you could have had Japan, but you didn't. Yeah. And that's your own fault. And it's going to hurt them. And so I think it's going to be Colombia that upsets England there. All right, so just to make sure we got time here, last closing thoughts about the World Cup so far.
Well, there are big shocks with this German elimination. Many letdowns, like the Egypt campaign because of the hype of Mo Salah, and I want to make a big check on this. Thumbs up for the VAR, the VAR system. It was the most needed thing that we were asking for, because all the polemic decisions, all the controversial decisions that have been made in soccer matches during the World Cup are ended up with this with the VAR system. I don't know if you saw the match with Brazil against Costa Rica, but Neymar got a little bit of busted with that VAR system when he was diving down into the ground and faking out an injury.
Yeah, it has been an interesting setup with that. There's just been so many storylines, and some of them have been political, some of them have been off the field. Especially with Egypt, and I think it was Serbia that had players just not wanting to play. And you get to a level like this with the World Cup where anything can happen, and that's pretty much what's happened. It's been surprising with the amount of goals that have been scored, the even in losing efforts, the amount of goals being scored. So I think it's a good World Cup for people that, at least in the United States, where the United States didn't qualify, there's tons of storylines for people to follow up on, and that's going to be a really good opportunity for soccer fans across the world as the knockout stage comes along. Well, that will do it for us tonight on Your Soccer Passport. As always, subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, and take a moment to check out Public House Media on Facebook for a wide variety of shows like this one. For Luis Burranca and the rest of the Public House Media staff, I'm Brice Burge. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.